some breaking news, Logan, out of the case in Florida. Now, this is a case on the classified documents, the Mar-a-Lago raid, that has, again, been almost indefinitely, I would say suspended, but it's been put on hold because of there's so many classified documents to review. That process is very just extensive, to say the least, and you've got to get, attorneys have got to get special access to be able to even review those documents. You've had some missteps, certainly by Jack Smith and his team there. A lot of confusion around. Remember, they had to admit that the documents were mixed up.
Yeah, they weren't in the proper boxes. There's been a lot. We discussed it pretty at length.
Yeah,
and now we have some real breaking news.
That's true. So they've asked for a gag order against Donald Trump in this classified documents case.
This is Jack Smith.
This is Jack Smith, the special prosecutor. He wants the gag order like the gag order that was issued in the New York case by the New York judge. And that gag order was denied by Judge Cannon, the federal judge in this case. The request was, quote, wholly lacking in substance and professional courtesy. So, again, she obviously did not like the way it was worded. Yeah. And kind of, I think, the way Jack Smith has handled this is, we are the Department of Justice. We get what we want in a case, Judge. We tell you what to do. And she said no in this. And I think when they messed up the documents, it kind of fed right into her problem that we've seen her have with Jack Smith throughout this process, which is they are going fast and loose with a classified documents case, and it doesn't work out that way.
And they've spent a lot of time kind of demonizing her, making her, they always say the Trump-appointed judge. They continually have done that. So, I'm not shocked that she did not.
You can't say the Democrat consultant's father, judge.
Right. Again,
who also made illegal campaign contributions as a judge to Joe Biden.
As I said in the last case, or the last shows we were doing about this, every judge is someone appointed judge, but they use that as if like you therefore can no longer judge fairly or clearly if you've been appointed by a president or appointed by. That's the system. But of course, she said again, to quote her, which I like this quote, she denied it, saying it was wholly lacking in substance and professional courtesy. And I want to read the document now. I want to see what it was. We are going to take your phone calls. Let's go to Michael in Florida. Michael, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How is it possible that the judge would instruct both counsel that they are not to speak to the law during closing arguments? I mean, isn't the case based on this is what's being accused as opposed to this is what the law is?
So I read that same statement that was from Judge Merchant, that he instructed the attorneys on both sides, don't go back through what the law is because the jury will have that instruction to them, which is this is what the defendant has been charged with. These are the counts. Do you believe that was violated? So they're going to have all of that. And if they have questions about that, they can submit questions to the court while they are deliberating. So that I think is what they're trying to say is spend your time now. And this is where I think it gets back to this is legal talk. It says spend your time back on evidence and the facts that they believe show their side is correct in the case. So you're still going to be going through evidence and facts that prove your point legally. What I think they don't want is another just diatribe on what the New York law is, what the federal law is. And I actually think that's probably to help the prosecutors, honestly, because this isn't just about New York law. It's about some weird way of trying to bootstrap a New York law into a federal law, which makes it a felony that would usually be a misdemeanor crime. And so that's what has gotten so complicated in this case is even if part one was done, did part two actually happen? That this court has that Alvin Bragg kind of made up to make this a felony case. And the judge doesn't want that relitigated is basically what he's saying. They said, we've done that. We've gotten past that point. Now you go to your evidence, you go to your facts, and the jury will get its instructions on what the law is.
Is there a hung jury scenario that could happen here? People are asking that in the comments. I'm seeing that a lot, saying if not necessarily purely guilty or not guilty, but just they cannot come to a conclusion. And what does that mean?
On a 6-week trial like this, when you've seen some interesting characters that could be fairly confusing to you. You could feel one way, and the next day, you get a character who gets up there and starts saying, "Oh yeah, I also took $30,000 from this guy and didn't tell him about it." Embezzlement, and it was the whole the cast of characters that was testifying to this can be fairly off-putting. Yeah. I mean, so when you have the head of the National Enquirer, and Stormy, Stephanie Richards, and then you've got Michael Cohen. It's just a whole group of people that are. They're not the most trustworthy on either side. Yeah. So I think what you have to then go down and look to is kind of like what you feel in your gut. Like, did Donald Trump really believe he was violating the law? They're saying all these horrible things about him in New York, and he's been working in New York for decades and never had any issues like this. You had Robert De Niro come out and say today, he's destroying New York. And the truth is he's built a quarter of New York. Yeah. I mean, I
don't know if he's looked around New York recently. I don't believe Donald Trump is to blame for the disaster that's currently there.
No. Not at all. And instead, what they're trying to do is kind of erase the history of Donald Trump in New York because he decided to go political. I'm sure Robert De Niro went to tons of events with Donald Trump.
We got a clip. Let's hear from Robert De Niro.
This was today by the Biden campaign. He is speaking on behalf of the Biden campaign officially.
Biden campaign, let's say it's in front of the courthouse. They had set up essentially their own little campaign stop.
Yes, which they said they weren't going to do this time, but I guess finally they've had a change in...
Well, the poll numbers have come in, and, we got to do something. We got to pull in Bobby De Niro. Let's hear from him.
Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave.
So that's Robert De Niro out in front of the courthouse. We saw similar verbiage coming out of Ken Burns this weekend, also documentarian. He was giving a commencement speech. I have to forget where specifically, but for the first time decided to go political. I feel like they are now calling in these favors, and they're not lightly political. They're like this. The country will not survive. Their democracy will die. It's those kind of verbiage that you're now coming out because I think they know.
How old is Donald Trump?
I think they know.
What? He's 76?
Something like that. What I think they know is that saying you should vote for Biden because he's a better option is not on the table politically. No. So the only way to get people to vote for Biden is to scare them into thinking that the world is going to burn if Donald Trump is elected president.
And the world has only been burning since Biden became president. There was no burning world under Donald Trump. In fact, the fires in the world were being put out.
Yeah.
The ISIS was destroyed, thankfully, and they didn't come back. We have the Abraham Accords. We had this great peace agreements between the Gulf states and Israel. There was not massive fighting between Israel and Hamas or Israel and
no new wars.
Or no new wars. We were able to handle hostage situations quickly, even like in Turkey with Pastor Brunson was a great example, or even in Sudan. So I mean, you would have these victory after victory, and Iran was being isolated by the world, and so even North Korea wasn't shooting off intercontinental ballistic missiles, wasn't trying to shoot off intercontinental ballistic missiles, because you had a very much a change in strategy where I think Donald Trump's, we haven't repeated this much, but his statement that, if 90% they think I'm bluffing, but 10% they think I pressed the button or will do what I say I will do, then they have to consider that every decision. And 10% ain't nothing.